Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everybody. Welcome to what are we on? The 52nd episode of HYSKY Monthly, which is crazy. I'm so excited today. We have Santh Sathya, who we'll hear from in just a minute. Also, happy Women's Month to everybody. We're going to get some women speakers on here soon. I won't be the only one. I know we have some that attend, and we've got some really interesting topics being discussed. So, more women coming in 2024, I promise. I'm Danielle McLean. I'm the executive director / CEO of HYSKY Society. We launched, I think you all know me, but we launched just over a year ago. So we're about 1 year and 2 months old, and our mission is to advance hydrogen aviation. And so really quickly, to help the algorithms help us, I'm going to put a link in the chat. And if you all could, if you have a LinkedIn, please click the link that I just put in the chat and thumbs it up, repost it. Also, if you have your camera or mic on, you can please mute it and turn your camera off until we get to the Q&A session at the end. Thanks. That way we can focus on our speakers. Thanks. So just click that and it'll open up LinkedIn, and then just love this like that and repost it. I'm gonna wait for somebody else to do it besides me. Sorry, my private messages are popping up. Thank you, Jay. It really, 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 really helps. Okay, we got a lot of people doing it. Thank you. It helps so much. As you can see, I need to check my LinkedIn. Okay, cool. So you can do that at any point during the webinar. You can go back and do that. So today's episode of HYSKY Monthly is brought to us by Thurman Company. Thurman Company is adding the personal touch to project management, contract management, and supplier management from Houston, Texas. They help small to medium-sized organizations with strategic technical project management to ensure that they're doing the right things to keep their projects aligned with the business goals, while balancing the project management triple constraint triangle of scope, cost, schedule. I don't even know what that means. They also introduce quality, risk, and communication management to our projects. Simply put, they're amazing. I can tell you from experience, we're using them for HYSKY Monthly and the H2 Hub Summit. So they're a fantastic team, especially for an organization like HYSKY Monthly. They're very, very effective in keeping things organized. So if you're looking for something like that, if you're hosting events and maybe you don't have a project manager, they definitely can. And they came out of the aviation industry. So that helps. If you want to see your logo on a slide like this, which by the way, these go on our YouTube channel forever, which is slowly but surely growing. We even had a video reach 7,000 views. So that's pretty exciting. These are recorded and they live on our YouTube channel forever. So if you're interested in doing some branding like that, these are the costs for sponsorships. So for a 1-month sponsorship, your logo would go on one webinar like this, and it would live on YouTube forever. For a quarterly sponsorship, it would be on 3 YouTube videos or 3 webinars. And for an annual sponsorship, it would go on every single HYSKY Monthly for the year. So that's kind of the model that we came up with to help us keep these webinars free. So definitely consider supporting us. We don't charge for memberships. We don't charge to attend these webinars. And we really want to get the word out about hydrogen aviation. So those little things hugely help us. So I already mentioned that all HYSKY Monthly webinars are on our YouTube channel, and I'll give you that link here in just a minute. But I want to talk about a couple of other really important, exciting things quickly. So Wednesday, in 2 days from now, we're having the H2 Hub Summit. And many of you know that there was $9 billion through the IRA, Biden administration, what's the word I'm looking for? Bipartisan Infrastructure Act that allocated $9 billion to hydrogen hubs. And there was like almost 100 applicants only 7 were selected. And those 7 are these 7 regions that you can kind of see these circles around. And as you see, they're not like one state, they're multiple state initiatives. I'm down here by the Gulf Coast as of a week ago. I just moved to Houston. So if you're in the Houston area, please reach out to me. But anyway, these 7 hubs, they won about $1 billion each. So massive amounts of funding going into these hubs. If this is the first time you're hearing about them, don't worry, because they actually have been selected, but they're in the negotiation phases of exactly how much money they're going to be allocated. We are going to hear from all 7 hubs on Wednesday. This is the first time that these 7 hubs have been brought together. You do not want to miss this. This is like the introduction to all of the 7 hubs from day one, and we're bringing them to you first. The tickets are only $30. So make sure and register for that. And we've already got over 100 people registered. Here is the link to register, and you can see who some of the speakers are. Again, you do not need to know anything about these hubs because there's not much to know. So this, kind of what we told them is just introduce yourselves to our group and let them know, because we, as the aviation industry and energy folks, we want to follow all of these hubs and what they're doing from the get-go. So don't feel bad if this is the first time you're hearing about them. This is the first time they've ever been brought together. So we're super excited about that. Next huge announcement that I'm really excited that I can officially finally say is that HYSKY is bringing Flying High 2024 to Las Vegas, September 3rd through 5th at Caesars Forum. Let me give you that press release. We are so excited about this partnership. We're partnered with the Commercial UAV Expo. They bring 4,000 attendees per year, and we have our own hydrogen pavilion right smack in the expo center. So when I tell you this is massive for HYSKY, it's huge. I'm beyond excited. So check out that press release, and we'll be publishing more about how you can sponsor, exhibit, speak, and all that sort of thing. So lots of big things happening in 2024. And then again, I don't know why I have this in here twice, but this is just another breakdown. Again, if you want to see your branding on webinars like this is what that looks like. $1,200 for one webinar / YouTube video, $3,250 for 3, and $12K for 12. And your branding will go on and live on our YouTube channel forever, which will grow exponentially. I am very confident about that. So go and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and this is how you do that. So click that link, and it should automatically take you to our YouTube channel. And in fact, I'll click it, and it'll probably give me an error since I'm already subscribed. So if you do get an error, I would actually confirm your channel subscription, and then you just hit subscribe right there. And actually, the video that shows up as a default is the podcast that I did with Dr. Martine Rothblatt. Okay, yeah, so I get something went wrong. If you get that error, it just means you're already subscribed. So please go and subscribe. We're at 135, which is super exciting to us. Hey, we're at 137. Thanks, guys. It really, really, really does help. These are the free things that you can do to help HYSKY stay free, open source, and be able to share hydrogen aviation with the world. So click that link, subscribe to our YouTube. Okay, now I have to show you something we've been doing, which is a ton of fun. This is our picture from last month. We're going to do a group picture, and usually this is what Rishav does, but he's super sick today, so I'm gonna try to figure it out. But everybody, turn on your webcam. You don't have to unmute your mic, just turn on your webcam, and then let me change my view. And we're gonna say cheese. Let's see, gallery. Okay, cool. We'll wait for some more folks to turn on their webcam. And I'm gonna try to smile in this one because every time somehow I'm looking down. Yeah, I'm like, this time I have control over the cheese button. So turn on your camera. We'll wait for a few more people. Turn on your camera. Turn on your camera. It always takes a minute for everyone to turn it on. I'm not sure. And then I always have people say, we missed it. We didn't know we were supposed to turn our camera on. So stop checking emails and turn your camera on. Because I know that's what you're doing. We'll wait for a couple more people. We wait for a couple more. It doesn't matter also if you're in pajamas, if you're in bed working from home. I have a virtual background, but I just moved. If you could see behind me, is kind of looking like a hoarders type situation. So thank goodness for virtual backgrounds. And if you're just joining us, we're just doing a group picture. Just turn on your camera and I'm going to say cheese in just a minute. Okay, that's probably a good amount. So 1, 2, 3, say cheese and hold it. I'm going to save that and we're going to do another one. It actually looks like everybody's smiling. Okay, I think we got it. Awesome. Those also help our algorithm. So thank you, everybody. Okay, now I have to figure out how to go back to share screen. I love learning on the fly. It's so fun. Okay, I think you can see my screen again. Awesome. Cool. And so, yeah, so these are a lot of fun. And we'll post this on LinkedIn and we'll tag everybody. Those are just a blast. Okay, now without further ado, I'm so thrilled to introduce Santh Sathya, making a hydrogen flying car. Santh Sathya founded LuftCar, an autonomous air and road mobility eVTOL company in March 2021. He's the CEO of LuftCar and served on its board of directors. Santh deeply cares for environment, sustainability, and is a relentless innovator of technologies that solve complex problems, improve lives, build social equity, and fuel progress. Before launching LuftCar, Santh served as director of strategy for L3Harris, managing $2 billion P&L for the sector CEO. Santh was head of systems engineering at Boeing, Insitu drones, and led model-based systems engineering and digital twin development. He held a position as vice president of strategy for Johnson Controls joint venture in Asia Pacific, where he laid out a 5-year strategy for EVs, electrification and smart cities, increasing revenue by 25% in energy and transportation markets. Santh managed operations for a $1 billion P&L at GE Energy, where he pioneered lean product development. Santh's greatest accomplishment was in developing and building 300 hydrogen fuel cell cars for Ford Motor Company. Santh has core expertise in hydrogen fuel cells, propulsion, AI architectures, and lean startup. Santh has an MBA from the Fuqua School of Business, Duke University, MS in Mechanical Engineering from Ohio University, and BS in Mechanical Engineering from College of Engineering, Gwynedd. Santh also holds an artificial intelligence strategy certification from MIT. So it should come as no surprise to you that Santh is a dear friend. He's one person that I can actually say is in the eVTOL space and has been following the hydrogen hubs before people knew what hydrogen hubs were. And I'm just so honored to introduce to you Santh Sathya of LuftCar. Santh, take it away.
Thank you very much, Danielle. Much appreciate the generous introduction. Let me share my screen, and if anybody's not able to see it, please let me know. Are we good to go?
We're good to go. We can hear and see everything. Thanks.
Okay, perfect. Now, I have gone through the LuftCar concept with many people here before. In fact, I was one of the very first people to do the seminars, I think. Danielle, correct me if I was wrong. But we did this, and the LuftCar concept is by now familiar to a lot of people. And what we are doing is we're building a vehicle, a meaningful eVTOL vehicle that could carry different types of cargo configurations. It could be a road vehicle, it could be just a container, it could be a cold storage unit, it could be an organ transplant medical system, it could be an air ambulance. So we could have different kinds of vehicle configurations that serve specific missions, but the goal is to carry those kinds of payloads across long distance. And that is possible because of the hydrogen engine. Hydrogen fuel cells, which are electric propulsion, along with the battery hybrid system, give you the range and the payload capability compared to batteries. And so our mission is very specific, is that we are focusing on 3 to 4 different industry segments. One, the cargo would be our first segment. Healthcare, which would be emergency medical services, disaster relief would be our second segment. We are parallelly pursuing defense opportunities because this vehicle would be a wonderful multimodal defense solution serving Air Force, Navy, and also Army in carrying vehicles across contested zones from ship to shore and shore to outpost type of applications. So our mission is pretty straightforward, but what we are setting out to do is quite complex. But fortunately, we are not alone in this. We are not doing this everything by ourselves. We have built strong partnerships. So at a high level, the problem that we are solving is a last mile door-to-door delivery solution. So it's not just point to point, but it's also point to point, but for larger payloads to larger communities at everybody's doorstep. Whether it is serving different positions within an Army base, or whether it is serving a small community in the Appalachian, or whether it is serving an urban environment like Miami, flying from Orlando. So you have like multiple missions that we could accomplish with this last mile door-to-door delivery solution. We are connecting communities, providing low-cost transportation for people across. The goal is to bring down the dollar per car seat mile for the passenger, so that this vehicle becomes more affordable. Otherwise, I think we are defeating the purpose of this whole eVTOL industry. And I talked a little bit about defense applications before. And going forward, yeah. So our market opportunity is quite big, nearly $3 to $4 trillion in a very good day, but very conservatively $2 trillion. This pretty much aligns up with what JP Morgan and Roland Berger and others have estimated. And LuftCar has got capabilities to participate in multiple industry segments. So we are building the vehicle on top of that. And let me go to what we are doing as a business. Everyone's familiar with our vehicle concept. We are building the airframe. We are not building the road vehicle. On a prototype basis, we will be building a road vehicle just for prototype demonstration purposes. But in reality, in commercial scale, we'll be partnering with road vehicle companies, with cargo companies, to build customized road vehicles that could dock with our car, or dock with our air module. So what we really sell is the air module in partnership with companies that could make road vehicles. And the hydrogen fuel cell propulsion that powers this vehicle goes into the air modules. Just to look at the history of why we are doing this and how we came about. Am I the first person to think about a roadable air vehicle? No, definitely not. But there are many different configurations that had come up in the past, and there'll be a lot more coming up in the future. But the bottom line is the need always existed. There is always a need to carry passengers in their own space across air, and also to serve multiple missions. In 1917, Curtiss, the great rival for the Wright brothers, built the autoplane, which to some extent succeeded, but was never commercialized. In 1973, there was this tragedy behind this Ava Miser flying car, which was built on the Ford Pinto platform. But the car failed because of a mechanical issue. And then the Terrafugia, which is, in our opinion, is a more complex modular setup. So it's commercially not so viable. That's strictly our opinion. But what we are trying to do now is address all those problems, addressing the failure modes related to airframes, distributed electricity, and making sure that the airframe is well balanced when it's flying, and then in a very sleek and a lightweight road module, which is actually designed from a fuselage. So we see the air module as a detachable fuselage than a car that's being attached to the airframe. So we have a different way of looking at this flying concept. So it is driven by more aviation principles and then giving some roadability to the fuselage that would detach. And then the airframe is being designed by experts. It is being designed with the sense that the center of gravity should always be stable at any given point in time, whether it's an undocked situation or docked situation. And also we have come up with a very elegant docking mechanism that enables the road vehicle to slide in and autonomously dock. It's a 5-point docking mechanism, not very dissimilar to the locomotives that we currently use. And going back to the next slide, we are on top of building the vehicle, we are also building the hydrogen fuel cell propulsion system. And here we are partnered with Bosch Aviation on the balance of plant. And we are constantly scouting for hydrogen fuel cell suppliers. There are a couple of suppliers that we have shortlisted. Bosch is helping us down select some of those fuel cell suppliers as well. We are working with a couple of DOE labs in hydrogen onboard storage solution. We cannot divulge a lot of that information out there. In terms of a fellow off-taker, we have a partner in Kenworth or PACCAR trucks who will utilize the hydrogen that we would produce in our lift pads, and also we would probably share some technologies related to hydrogen storage on board. On top of the vehicle and the hydrogen engine, we are also developing the lift pads. Lift pads is our trademark term for vertiports. And these lift pads will have hydrogen refueling available on site. A year ago, we were very firm about making hydrogen on site to remove efficiencies. But with the hydrogen hub projects coming up, with many hydrogen manufacturers out there, we are open to the idea of making hydrogen on site or having hydrogen piped in or trucked in, depending on how close the hydrogen producer is to the facility. So for example, if a hydrogen producer is located within 50 miles range of our lift pad facility, we would rather have that supplier pipe or truck hydrogen into our facility. But if we don't have any hydrogen producer in the vicinity, then we will make hydrogen on site, depending on the amount of hydrogen that will be consumed in the lift pad. The whole idea about lift pad is that this is one central location where eVTOL vehicles or heavy duty trucks or passenger cars can come and get hydrogen refueled. And the hydrogen will be made available locally. And the hydrogen will be most likely green hydrogen. But we are also open to the fact of using blue hydrogen or turquoise hydrogen to begin with and transition into green hydrogen. I think we're going to put the economies of scale up front. We want to make sure that the customers pay less at the pump. We want to build a case for hydrogen economy. And you do that by starting to work with affordable hydrogen and then transition to clean green hydrogen or pink hydrogen eventually. And we have developed partnerships around this throughout. We have partnered with energy companies that could provide us renewable power upstream. We have partnered with hydrogen companies that could pipe in hydrogen. We also partnered with small startups on hydrogen that could locally make hydrogen for us, whether it is blue or green hydrogen. And also we are partnering with fellow off-takers like PACCAR, and we are all in conversations, a couple of other hydrogen truck companies. We are also putting together a demo on hydrogen refueling in the East Coast, because compared to the West Coast, the East Coast of the United States is still yet to catch up on hydrogen transportation. And we are working with our fellow off-takers and putting together a roadshow on hydrogen refueling and demonstrate the ease of use, demonstrate the safety, demonstrate some amount of cost compatibility and things like that to customers and to regulators and to the interested stakeholders in the region. So what we do in LuftCar, I mean, are we trying to do everything? No, not really. The air vehicle is our domain. We're building the air vehicle. That's very clear. We are building the hydrogen fuel cell propulsion in partnership with some great technology partners like Bosch and a few others. And on the lift pads, it's more of a community effort. Yes, we are the prime on building these lift pads with our construction suppliers, but the hydrogen comes from somebody else. The off-takers join us to tap into the hydrogen. We are working with renewable energy companies. So we are interested in setting up lift pads around the country, at least for the first few years, so that we can establish the hydrogen transportation infrastructure. We want to play an important role in establishing hydrogen transportation infrastructure for our vehicles to succeed, for hydrogen economy to accelerate. This comes from a lesson that I learned at Ford Motor Company many years ago. When we built hydrogen cars very successfully, the hydrogen cars are working, but there was no infrastructure available around the country. hydrogen was not available as a fuel for common public. So hydrogen vehicles never really ramped up in production. And because of that, the very huge vacuum was created on renewable transportation, and the battery vehicles took on, and the automotive companies went through a rough period in 2008. The R&D funding was pulled out of hydrogen cars, and a few other companies, and one company, a very prominent company, took advantage of the situation and built electric battery vehicles. And now we are now stuck with this non-circular battery economy. I don't want to create an argument about battery versus hydrogen. I think the future has got a space for everybody to coexist. And the LuftCar plays in the middle of all of that. I want to talk a little bit about a new dimension in LuftCar's evolution. So we have been focusing more on product development, on developing the vehicle concept. But the last year, 2023, had been a very important year for us in that we worked very closely with NYSERDA on the hydrogen hub proposal for Northeast. So we did a lot of groundwork on the lift pads, particularly with the disadvantaged community in Connecticut. We put together a concept. It was very well received within the 7 states in Northeast. And we survived all kinds of screening, and we made into the final list of the hydrogen hub application. And we went into the Department of Energy submission as one of the final projects down selected. The Northeast Hydrogen Hub, unfortunately, did not make the cut. Several other hubs around the country won for good reasons. But the Northeast Hydrogen Hub exercise taught us a lot. We developed a lot of tools and capabilities around the process. We developed great relationships. We executed on community education. And because of that, the outcome of that gave LuftCar a definitive competitive edge in building a hydrogen consultation service. So what we created was we created a tool called HEAT, which is Hydrogen Economic Analysis Tool. This tool is different from what the National Renewables Lab has, or Argonne National Lab has. We had used the National Renewables Lab's model and Argonne's GREAT model, but on top of that, we are not only doing the bottoms-up approach on understanding hydrogen return of investment, hydrogen economy analysis. We are also putting in the macro business drivers. We are including the business principles around energy and looking at counter technologies and how that's going to affect hydrogen, and looking at the macro micro trends, looking at geographical turns, and looking at the funding flow. And we have come up with this good, robust tool which looks at the whole business perspective, and we have launched it. That tool is internal to LuftCar, but that is a service we provide to businesses to make a determination on whether hydrogen is a good investment for them or not, whether they should make hydrogen on site or whether they should import hydrogen. Because we use those tools and we came to real robust conclusions through the analysis, and we want to impart that knowledge to others as well. And we have successfully demonstrated using this tool as part of a NYSERDA application. We are continuing to use that for our Connecticut project. We have also developed a similar analysis for Philippines. We did an EV infrastructure study for India, and we did a transportation model for Germany. And we have it all ready to go. So if anybody wants to reach out to us, please do so. George has put our contact information out there. So that's another service we provide. We also have on demand. We have studied the air traffic management in Philippines. We have created an initial model, but we are providing air traffic management studies for geographies that are not mature yet in advanced air mobility. And this air traffic management and air transportation model will be based on hydrogen refueling. Today in the United States, a lot of the aviation models the eVTOL models are built on battery charging, but I think that the future really holds with future for eVTOL reside in hydrogen infrastructure planning and capabilities. So we are providing infrastructure studies. We are also providing infrastructure, logistics on lift pads and on certifications around hydrogen and the kind of limitations hydrogen offers and the kind of opportunities hydrogen offers. And we are developing a white paper that we want to share with FAA on hydrogen refueling eventually. So that's where we are in terms of services. And as a company, we have made a lot of progress in the recent past. Some of our biggest wins this year have been the agreement with Philippines to launch our vehicles there. So we are partnering with a truck OEM in the region to build our airframes under the LuftCar brand in Philippines, but it will be merged, integrated with the local builders road vehicle and will be sold as Luft Pinoys, which will be a multi-mission vehicle. It will serve cargo, it will serve military. We received a letter of interest from the Philippines Department of National Defense, and we are leveraging that for defense contracts here in the United States. We do have interest from Navy, Army, and Air Force, and we are working on proposals to win specific contracts. We are part of the Built in Miami program. So for now, in the United States, we are building this vehicle in the Miami region, and we are in conversation with a couple of universities here to continue our prototyping effort. These are some of the transportation models that we are considering in the United States, connecting disadvantaged communities, connecting states. And we are doing a project in New England area, connecting big metropolis. And we also have a proposal connecting major cities in Central Europe, which we are going to showcase in Rome, because we have been invited to pitch at Airport Rome. That proposal is being considered. And again, we have the Philippines project, and we have come up with a model for Philippines as well. So these are our partners, and I've really walked through them before. And we won several awards. As of the competition, we are still one of the very few companies that have this detachable module concept. And the advantage of the detachable module is that you're not carrying all this flying paraphernalia in the urban environment. You're leaving them behind, and you can come and attach them and fly. And they're interchangeable, so people can just use the flying part. People can continue to rent the flying part. The air modules can be rented by any cargo carrier and fly from place to place. Some of the reasons to invest in LuftCar. This is our alignment with the United Nations goals for sustainability. So we fall into many of these different categories where we really meet the United Nations goals when it comes to health and healthcare, democratizing air travel, economic development in many economies where people still do not have the opportunity to fly, and we are addressing climate change, and then we are accelerating the build of green infrastructure. All of this is possible because of our vehicle concept, along with the hydrogen propulsion. We are all about DEI, and we want to be that kind of a company right from the beginning. Our company is minority owned, but we are trying to target, trying to have 50% of our leadership. We're trying to have women hold 50% of our leadership, and our demographic, our leadership demography, and our workforce should reflect the actual demography related to the industry. So if there are like 30% women in the aviation industry, we want to have 30% women in our middle management and in our workforce as well. And we want to give back 40% of what we make back to the communities. So whether in terms of hiring people from the local communities or investing back in the local communities, we want to give back 40%. For example, if you operate in Philippines, we will give back 40% of our investment back into the community. If you're operating in, say, Hartford, Connecticut, that's what we will do. We'll reinvest back into the community. So we are very, very clear about our localization goals. I'll stop here, and I'll open up for more questions.
Thanks so much, Santh. That was amazing. I just have to say thank you for all of your research in the DEI space. I think you may be one of the first organizations that's come on this platform and emphasized the importance of having 50% women leadership. We did HYSKY and Vertical Flight Society did a workforce report, I don't know, a year or two ago. I don't even remember how long it's been, but that was one of the things that we talked about. And those that have 50% leadership of women, starting from the top, then you're going to outperform by 30%. I think you're going to outperform your competitors. So it might be a little harder starting. It might be a little bit of a slower start, but it's going to make you be very competitive in the future. So I'm excited to see that, not to mention the hydrogen and everything else that I'm seeing, but I was just really happy that you had that included in your deck. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to start with the questions in this is not related to your presentation, but first I see Jay said, I believe the Southeast has their own hub, not included in the H2 hub. Are you familiar or aware of anything like that? I guess I should say some of the hubs that competed for the federal funds are doing it anyway without DOE money. This summit on Wednesday is just focusing on the ones that are funded by DOE. So the short answer is yes, I'm aware that there are other hydrogen hubs. I'm just focusing on the DOE ones. Okay, so sorry, some of you couldn't turn on your video for the picture. Santh's email has been shared in the chat. So if you're looking to get in touch with him, it is in the chat and we can reshare it if you didn't see it. Okay, the first question I see is Roberto. Roberto, if you wouldn't mind turning on your mic and camera and asking Santh the question. I'm happy to read it, but it's always better if you guys get to ask it yourself. Cool. Take it away.
Hello, thank you very much. I hope you can hear me. I just wanted to ask Sant about a very simple question. Being based in Brussels in Europe, I know to what extent legislation can make things very, very difficult. So my question to him was to what extent they've been taking into account possible regulatory hurdles and what they plan to develop in order to make sure that legislation makes their technology solution compatible so that they can implement their business models. Thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Roberto. I get that question all the time. So we do work with FAA closely on this. We do 6-month review with FAA on a regular basis to show where we are. There are some unique stressors related to the LuftCar airframe, because as we land, we're talking about 2 disjointed vehicles, a G-force acting between them. And then there is this weight factor that we have to consider, but that's what we are addressing. Our initial models are on the money. Yes, there's a penalty because of the chassis and the drivetrain, which is you don't find usually in other eVTOL vehicles, but we are compensating for that by smart weight allocation of the airframe and the road vehicle. But look, the FAA is definitely interested in our vehicle because these vehicles are coming, right? The air and road vehicles are coming. There are already several companies doing something similar, even though not the complete disjointed part. We fall under the power lift category. So there'll be some specific validation that will happen in our case compared to others. And we have to go through this. And I'm glad that we have to go through this because at the end of it, the vehicle's performance from end to end, including safety, is very important. But short answer is that we are engaged with the FAA. We have not gained that kind of engagement with EASA yet. But our hope is that once we get everything done through FAA, then it becomes easy to work with EASA as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, and for those of you that are wondering what EASA is, it's basically Europe's version of the FAA. Next up, we have Shraddha. I hope I'm saying your name right. Please correct me if I mispronounced it. Would you like to come on and ask Santh your question?
Sure, you did pronounce it correctly. Thank you, Danielle. Hi, Sam. Thank you so much for doing this. This is my first time on this, webinar, and I did my thesis on a air traffic management system that NASA is doing, and they define vertiports and vertiplexes and vertipads kind of in a little different way than you did. So I just wanted to clarify terms. When you said LuftPad, was it a vertiplex system or simply a vertipad where the vehicles could land?
Vertiport lift pads are, I would say vertiplex at this point in time, but with hydrogen infrastructure in it. The only difference between a vertiport and a lift pad is the presence of hydrogen refueling infrastructure. So in some lift pads, we can have multiple landing spots. So that becomes a vertiplex. I don't want to call it liftplex.
No problem.
Here. Yeah, typically, depending on the amount of traffic that you expect and the amount of hydrogen demand that's expected in the region, we'll have one landing pad and some refueling stations for road vehicles. So the whole purpose is to serve multiple modes of transport and not just eVTOLs alone.
Okay, very good. Thank you, sir.
I love the Beatles as well. And great question. Thank you, Mike, for sharing the workforce report. I was actually going to ask you to do that. When Santh was talking about how they wanted to be 50% women leadership, that was directly something that Mike Hirschberg and I studied. It was November 2022. Thank you. I highly encourage you to read that report. It was insightful and it was difficult to write. Some of the stats will probably upset you, but I think we covered just about everything that we saw was, I don't want to say wrong with the aviation industry, but it is. It was what needed to change. And, as we're seeing things evolve with social media and the way we're sharing information with each other instead of getting it from, a centralized source, these things are going to become critical for the success of companies in the future. So I just really take my hat off to you, Santh, for, taking that seriously, because I think you're probably the first company, other than companies that are obviously ran by women, and that are owned by women. There's also, Hydroplane. Okay, next question is, Shraddha has a comment. She says, and I'll just read it, that she says, I love your perspective on sustainability, aviation, and DEI. Oh, wait, this is another question. Shraddha, you can unmute again, and welcome for the first time. Also, we're so happy to have you. You'll get to know everybody in a couple of months, hopefully. But yeah, we really encourage people to come on, and also would love to know more about what you're working on.
Sure. So, Santh, there's so much in your presentation I really liked, but I really loved sustainability and your aviation and DEI perspectives. But what I wanted to know, I come from a human factors engineering background. So what I wanted to know is, have you incorporated that perspective into your company? I see a lot of focus on mechanical engineering, aerospace engineering, that sort of thing, without so much of that. And I was just wondering where you're at with that.
It's kind of bizarre that you're asking that question to me, because just yesterday I had a huge dinner discussion with somebody just on this topic. We're talking about human factors in a big time. And this person is not a biomedical engineer, but she wanted to be a human factors person, but she's a physical therapist with a lot of medical background.
Okay.
And I was fortunately, while at Boeing, I put together the human factors team out there for the drone programs.
Wow.
And I hired a person with a PhD degree in human factors, and also somebody with a master's degree in biomedical engineering. And we're trying to make both ends meet. One thing I firmly believe is that engineers have absolutely no capability of understanding human factors. They're just good at what they do, but they're very dumb when it comes to human factors. That includes me, right? So I need to know my weaknesses, but I think that human factors is super, super, super critical for the eVTOL industry. And we are trying to serve different sections of the society. People are different age groups, people with the disabilities, the whatever, right? So we got to have people who can think about that, who can model that, who can create requirements around it. And so it is a science and an art at the same time. To me, it should first begin as an art, and then slowly translate into science, and then requirements and things like that. So we are putting together a strong team, and I'm taking people who have absolutely no background in the eVTOL and aviation space, but have a lot of background on physiotherapy and biomedical engineering, who understand the human body, our state of mind very well, to come in with fresh eyes look and create the human factor discipline for us. So I think I know what to do here, unfortunately from a previous experience, but it's a matter of finding the right people. And if there's anybody here interested in working with us on human factors, raise your hand, approach me, and we would love to work with you.
Thanks very much. Appreciate that.
It continues to blow my mind how much the medical field and aviation intersect. And, it's funny because my co-founder at my last company, eVTOL company, was a medical doctor. And the co-founder of HYSKY, Rishav, is a medical doctor. And he's very good at, these human factors, where I tend to be, as an engineer, sometimes insensitive without intending to be, just things I don't think about. We're thinking about, equipment breaking, but we're not always thinking about, how comfortable will people be? How will they feel about it? Will they enjoy it? Do they want to join this industry? Do they want to work on, saving lives? And that's a whole topic for another day. But so next up we have Todd Knight. Todd, you're up.
Yes, thanks. Yeah, I was interested in knowing whether you were going to offer, or whether you were thinking about liquid hydrogen, or whether you were thinking of gaseous. It's a two-part question. The second part of the question is, I'm interested in lightweight propulsion systems for my own purposes, and I wondered whether your system is potentially available so that other people could use it in their crafts and therefore scale up yours quicker.
A great question. Thanks, Todd. Well, we are thinking about liquid hydrogen in the long run for the kind of ranges that we are targeting, around 25 to 35 kilograms on board any given point in time. Liquid hydrogen is the way to go. We are coming up with some unique ways of packaging hydrogen, package it away from the passenger compartment, so that if there's any leakage of hydrogen, it does not accumulate under the passengers. So we're thinking about things like that. But our initial prototypes will have gaseous hydrogen because we are only trying to demonstrate limited range. The goal is to demonstrate functionality initially, but as we scale up, going to the 5-seater vehicle, we will look for the 300 miles range. So we're already working with some liquid hydrogen suppliers. And your second question is whether our propulsion systems can be used in other eVTOLs or other vehicles. Yes, that's the goal. So we are trying to look at this hydrogen propulsion system having its own revenue stream that we will supply to other eVTOL companies and other heavy-duty vehicles as well. Again, we want to really latch onto that hydrogen onboard storage capability, which is going to be the holy grail in this whole thing. Thanks, Todd.
And that's actually a perfect segue into somebody that sent me a private question, but I won't say your name, but I'll just read it. Does this group also consider other fuels? If so, which one? And no, not really. HYSKY, HY, Hydrogen in the Sky. HYSKY is a nonprofit focused on advancing hydrogen aviation. The reason that we were created was in college, I did a design project where the aircraft had to be, in the sky for multiple days at a time, and it couldn't have any emissions. And I was on the power and propulsions team, and we looked at every possible fuel you could imagine. And I had never really thought about hydrogen. But we were just looking at the numbers, the specific energy and things like that. And so we converged literally like at the last minute, because we couldn't find a fuel, we converged to hydrogen at the last minute. And then, kind of just studying it more and seeing how efficient it is, that if you use it in a fuel cell, your only emission is steam. If you use it to combust it, you don't have any carbon emissions. Still, you're only having some NOx emissions, which there are organizations even working on fixing that. So it's really, and I'm sure Santh has, stories similar. So this group, our purpose is specifically to, tell the world, spread the news about the capabilities of hydrogen, show you what people are doing. There are groups that do work on like eVTOLs, and I mean, basically Legacy Aviation does jet fuel. And then there are organizations that work on sustainable aviation, SAF. And then there are organizations that focus on batteries. But we focus on hydrogen. So that was kind of the long answer. But, if there was a new fuel that could perform as well as hydrogen, I would definitely be open to learning about it. But as of yet, I haven't seen one.
Yeah, I agree with you, Danielle. Hydrogen is going to be the primary path, and it's the advantages of net zero and also heavy payload, long range, all that makes hydrogen the most viable thing for us. The challenge is not about building hydrogen vehicles other than, say, onboard storage of hydrogen. The challenge is more on the infrastructure side and making sure that hydrogen is available as we scale up, that it is reliably available at low cost, right? So that's where we need to be focusing on as an industry. The only exception for us in going to something like an SAF, it will be in military applications, specific military mission systems where you might not find hydrogen in a contested zone, and the military probably is not ready in getting hydrogen produced locally on site. So in those cases, but if they like our vehicle concept, which they do, then we might have to temporarily go for a SAF, just specifically for some military applications. But hydrogen has got great utility even in military applications, because you can make hydrogen in bases and keep them ready. That keeps you, that helps you not get dependent on a foreign power to provide fuel for your missions, right? So it kind of makes you more independent when it comes to fueling your vehicles.
Yeah, exactly. And, just to add on to what you said, Santh, flying with hydrogen isn't the challenge. We did it. We realized at my previous company, our biggest challenge was getting hydrogen, getting it affordably and efficiently. We had to drive hours just to get a tank of hydrogen, which is precisely the reason why we're doing the H2 Hub Summit on Wednesday. Because if you're in this space long enough, you'll realize it's not that hard to design and build a hydrogen powered aircraft. I mean, it is very challenging. It's a challenging engineering problem. But once you achieve that, you run into, well, shoot, where am I going to get the hydrogen? We need a supply of it. And so that's exactly why we're bringing these hubs to the aviation industry, so that those that are involved in hydrogen powered aircraft can, be partnering with these hubs and securing their supply for hydrogen, when they go into, mass production and have fleets in operation. Okay, next we have Danny Mako. You're up.
Hi, Santh. Thanks for the presentation. It's fantastic. I was thinking about having visited lots of cargo and delivery docks, that drivers tend to be much better at banging into things than avoiding them. And when I think about this interface of aircraft and how careful you have to be, and particularly for continuous cycles of flying, landing, and for optimal throughput, probably interfacing with drivers that are mid-mile delivery and cargo drivers. How do you bring those two together and still maintain, safety and diligence associated with the airworthiness of the aircraft?
Yeah, thanks, Danny. It's a loaded question, but I really appreciate the question. If I were to manually back the LuftCar, the road vehicle into the air module, I won't get it right. I'll bang it. I'll ruin it, right? I'm just happy backing up my Tesla into the parking lot. Sometimes I'm happy that there's a autonomous backing up into the parking space, which is good. That gets the job done perfectly. So that's what we are depending on. So we have a 5.5 position sensor system. There are the sensors, both precision sensors and location sensors, that precision location sensors and detection sensors. That's the right way to say it. That would detect a relative position between the air module and the road module. And while backing up, it's going to get it into that width with the right amount of tolerance. And we are designing to accommodate for this marginal errors in the misalignment, but eventually when the docking happens, it's going to accommodate that. We are working with some good sensor companies on that. But during the prototype stage, we might do some manual backing, but as we scale up commercially, we will be using these locational sensors. So that's that part. And you're talking about airworthiness and roadworthiness. These vehicles, particularly in the road vehicle, when you drive around, when you bang it somewhere and the vehicle structure gets compromised, when you come and dock it back in, is the vehicle still airworthy, right? Because now the road vehicle is damaged, can it still fly? So what we are doing is putting dynamic reporting of the airworthiness and roadworthiness. These are measures that we hope to generate with FAA. We have an idea on how to do this. I worked at Ford Motor Company doing a lot of crash testing. So we have metrics that we can put on to assess the structural integrity of the vehicle and report out dynamically to the control system to allow a takeoff. So, and even the passengers, whoever is flying, should at any given point in time dynamically monitor the airworthiness and roadworthiness of both components, right? So that is the system that we're developing. I think that's going to be a big win for us when we do that.
Interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Carlos. I'm resisting the urge to answer this question. It's Santh's presentation. Carlos, do you want to come on and answer and ask your question?
Yes, can you hear me?
Barely.
I don't know if Zoom is gonna let me improve the microphone right now. Yeah, and join late, probably you answered this earlier. So I was just asking if there was an understanding of why hydrogen is better than SAF for aerospace, right? And what was your input on that? That was that's the question.
I don't know. I'm a purist, right? I like hydrogen, but at the end of it, it should make economic sense, right? We believe that with the infrastructure being built on hydrogen, with so much of bets on reducing the cost of green hydrogen per dollar per kilogram, I think hydrogen will have a lot more economic sense than SAF. And SAF is only an interim solution. Again, people from the SAF camp may or may not agree with me. Daniel and I were part of a SAF panel like about 3-4 months ago, Danielle. But the thing is, hydrogen is net zero, right? Particularly green hydrogen. And there'll be zero emissions, which is not something that you can bet on SAF. You're still putting out NOx emissions and other things. So yes, SAF is a good transition from what we're doing currently. But if we really care for removing air pollution, particularly if you're imagining a future where there's going to be plenty of air travel in eVTOLs and in other small commercial planes, when you talk about putting all these different car-like transport that you're seeing now up in the air, we need to really go to this extraordinary measure of reducing air pollution in each vehicle. And that the way to do that is to go the hydrogen way. I don't know, anybody else that want to chip in on this, Danielle?
Oh, of course, you know I do. By the way, Carlos, it's the most common question that we get. It's a good one. I was on a panel with the CEO of eVTOL about, I don't know, 3 weeks ago or so, a month ago. And to use his words, SAF is jet fuel. It's just made a different way. And I'm actually I have this queued up because I think forgive me, universal hydrogen did it best when okay, now I got to check. Who was it? Yes, it was Universal Hydrogen. They made a video on this because they were getting this question so much. And it's just a 1 minute long video. And I'm just going to play it really quick. So 1 sec.
Traffic volumes have doubled every 15 years since the start of the jet age. Airplane efficiency improvements have nowhere near kept up with this exponential traffic growth. So while the rest of the world is aggressively reducing emissions to avert catastrophic climate change, CO2 from aviation continues to grow. Unlike for cars, batteries are not a viable solution for large commercial airplanes. They're simply too heavy. Hydrogen and so-called sustainable aviation fuels, or SAFs, are the only credible options for new aviation fuels in the foreseeable future. SAFs are synthetic jet fuel, in which emissions from burning the hydrocarbon at altitude are offset by carbon capture during the production of the fuel. In this graphic, we compare the energy required to produce an equivalent amount of hydrogen in SAF. In order to make this an apples-to-apples comparison, the hydrogen is green liquid hydrogen produced using water electrolysis, and the SAF is produced using the most mature power-to-liquid process, capturing an equivalent amount of CO2 to that which is emitted by burning the fuel. The result is that SAF will require about 3.5 times more energy to produce, and therefore will cost 3.5 times more. While SAFs are a convenient, near-term drop-in replacement for fossil-derived jet fuel, hydrogen is the only economically viable, true zero-emission solution for aviation. And it's coming to the skies sooner than you think.
And so I just love that explanation. And also Dr. Joseph Kahlo from H2Fly broke down the calculations as well at Flying High. So it's not really zero emission. It's net zero, but you're still, putting CO2 in the atmosphere with SAFs. But great question. I think that's probably why Universal Hydrogen made that video, because they got the question so often. So I defer to that video often. Okay, next we have William. William, would you like to ask your question? William Ryken, are you here with us still? Yes, I'll share the link to the video.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't really have a question. I was just stating that if someone was looking for an engine that can burn hydrogen and other fuels for aviation, then we've already developed that engine, and it's now being tested by the US government for various applications. And it's TR-09. So we already produce it. So that's all I was saying.
It's a good point. I guess I'll add to that. What Santh is talking about doing is hydrogen fuel cells, which we haven't traditionally done for aviation. Yes, we've used them in space, but to use them as a propulsion system, that's sort of a new concept. But there are companies that are developing hydrogen combustion aircraft, and then there are companies developing hydrogen powered by fuel cells. And it's important to know the difference. And I'll just do a slight little promo. at our Flying High event in September, we have a full day of a hydrogen aviation course where we go in detail of what's been done in space, what we can use, the difference between fuel cells and combustion, and what that looks like, and when you would want to use one or the other. So I encourage you to join us there, and I would love to. Is this something that you're working on personally? If so, we'd love to have you present.
I would be happy to present. We can have a private discussion about it. And yes, we are already space qualified.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. Please, do you have my email address?
Yes, I do.
All right. Please reach out. I would love to chat.
Okie dokie.
Cool. Kofi, I hope I'm saying your name right. You're up next. Please correct me if I'm pronouncing it wrong.
That's correct. I didn't have a question. I was just asking for the link. So
Oh, gotcha. You did. I'm just reading the names and I'm not realizing what they're saying. Emmanuel, you are up.
Yeah, thank you, Danielle. Thank you, Santh, for the presentation. I hope you can hear me very well.
It's a little quiet, but we can hear you.
All right, so I'll try and ask some questions more on the sustainability part of the business. I remember one of the key things that Santh mentioned is reliably available and economical hydrogen. So you talked about green hydrogen. For me, I think my puzzle is not more on the technology being proven. It's how sustainable and how economic it is, bottom line. And you also mentioned that your primary focus right now is to demonstrate the proof of the technology. And eventually, the way I see what you say is that you will begin to switch into more economically affordable technology. So my question would be, what have you done? What's easier? What are you doing to take us to a path of sustainably available and reliably hydrogen? That's the question that I have. My challenge is not if the technology will be proven. So, but before the technology can be adopted, we have to be able to safely and confidently demonstrate that the technology is cheaper than the current conventional technology. So, or else we would not be doing so much for the industry. So, what are you doing in taking us down that path? What's the cost of the technology compared to current talk about even conventional fuels, conventional jet fuels? What's the demonstrated cost compared to SAFs? And then what's the future of the cost of hydrogen fuels? So if you could challenge us with that, that would be helpful to know the viability of the technology and the future of the technology. Thank you.
Yeah, what I can share with you is, I mean, we cannot share with you how much the hydrogen engine is going to cost. That we have some targets in mind, and when you're working with customers, we will definitely share them. But typically, that engine would cost a lot less than say an equivalent small airplane vehicle engine, right? So we're trying to make it a lot cheaper than that. But in terms of the affordability for passengers, the one metric that we try to closely follow is the dollar per car seat mile. How much would it cost, whether it's an industrial customer or a business customer or an individual customer? What would it cost them to fly per mile, right? So we're trying to keep that under 80 cents per car seat mile. That would make sense for people to rent a vehicle like this to go 100 miles, to go 50 miles, to fly from a small city to major metropolis, to major airport. It makes sense to be an air ambulance to carry passengers for emergencies. So we are trying to keep it at that level. In case of complicated cargo designs, the cost might go up a little bit. And we want to stay competitive compared to other eVTOL companies. So that's pretty much all I can share. But yeah, like I said, to your point, yes, economics is key. So hydrogen should cost less at the lift pads. The vehicle operations should cost less, and that's what we're trying. That's our whole business model, and that's what we're trying to achieve.
And I would just love to add to that. Emmanuel, what you described is key in why HYSKY exists. We have brilliant folks like Santh working on the aircraft, and we have, you know, massive amounts of funding from the federal government going into hydrogen, but there wasn't really anybody in between connecting the two. So it's going to be key. Right now, hydrogen is like 30 to 40 to 50 times more expensive than jet fuel, especially if it's liquefied hydrogen. Obviously, that is not sustainable, and people don't want to invest in that. So it's a series of events, you know, creating awareness by webinars like these, and then we go out into the community and get people excited about hydrogen, not just in aviation, but just hydrogen in general. And, you know, really build on that demand and let people know what's possible. Like, hey, you could technically make this in your backyard. But that's key. And it's going to take some years to get to it. But there's, and I don't know how familiar you are with the DOE, I think it's called the United States Clean Hydrogen Strategy and Roadmap, that was published in June of 2023. And they talked about this. This was key, was creating a demand and reaching, and their target is, it's called like the 1-1-1 strategy, $1 per kilogram in 1 decade. And if we can reach that, then, and that's the goal, then obviously it will be very, very, very competitive, but investors aren't going to put money into it until they see a path to get to that. And so HYSKY is doing our part to, you know, make that happen for aviation, but it requires collaboration with lots of industries, and it's going to require, I mean, $9 billion is a drop in the bucket compared to what this industry needs, which is like 300 to 400 billion to make this happen. So there's going to need to be some private capital, and a big risk. And so finding, you know, the people that are willing to take that risk is challenging, but they're out there. And we're getting there slowly but surely, but it is key. A very interesting point, and I'm curious if you could share more about what you do, Emmanuel, because that was a very interesting question. I enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you, Daniel. I'm actually in Canada, and Early Bird Hero. I work with Early Bird Hero, and we are very much interested in everything zero emissions for the aviation space. And I have a clean energy background, and I looked much more into the life cycle, and I looked more into the capability of the technology. So I have more of a holistic approach into the technologies, and that's what we are doing. And we are one of the we are one of the people that wants to promote and drive the adoption of green technologies in aviation. We believe that the aviation, even though it is a challenger world, but it's a possible world for green technologies to take the stage. And we believe that through a conversation like this, we can all achieve it together. Thank you. So it's been a very impressive and a very great education and presentation so far. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you. And I don't think I've seen you here before. If you have been here before, I apologize, but I would love to talk with you more offline and get to know you better. Welcome to the group.
Thank you. This is my first meeting, so it's great to connect with you here.
Cool. Awesome. All right, let's see. I think we are I think that's it on our questions. Hold on, I see one more message. Again, if you want to reach out to Santh. Santh, are you still running your campaign on Start Engine?
No, we are done with it.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to say, if you're interested in making an investment, I was lucky enough to get in early. I was going to encourage you to join that. Do you want to share? We have a few more minutes. Normally, we like to keep this sort of a technical group, but since I don't see any more questions and we have a few minutes, Santh, I'd love to, if you could share your fundraising goals, where you're at. On the last time we talked, you were working on a term sheet. Where is that? And if people are interested in getting involved, what do they need to do?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Danielle. So we are raising right now $10 million seed funding, and we have raised a portion of it now. We have some lead investors already, including our Filipino partner, who would be investing in building our vehicles. But we are open to receiving investments from anybody. It's $6 per share right now. So with a minimum threshold of around $10,000 for individual investors. So if anybody's interested, do reach out. Even if you have to make some exceptions, let us know. I'm all about getting people who are passionate about this industry, passionate about hydrogen, join us in some way or the other. So reach out to me or George Licorice is here. George has put out our contact information on chat. So please do reach out by email.
Yeah, and I just add to that. I can speak from experience that, in the startup world, we tend to run into people who it's sometimes hard to know. Some people, everybody's passionate when they think they're going to get rich quick, but they're, I don't know, 1 in 1,000 people that you find that are truly passionate about this space. And Rishav is one of those, my co-founder. You all will meet him next month if this is your first time joining. He's sick today. But he's one of those people. Santh is one of those people. I'm one of those people where, I mean, we, basically will risk everything because we believe in it so much. And I've been so impressed to watch Santh just really grind over these last few years and build such an impressive team and continue growing and continue pushing forward. It's a company I personally have put money in and I believe in. So for whatever it's worth, I encourage you, to reach out to Santh and George and get involved, because I very much believe in this company and that they're going to do great things. Already are doing great things.
Thank you, Danielle.
You're welcome. Well, if that is it, okay, wait, we got somebody cool. Okay, I love it when someone asks. And by the way, as you see, we're a very kind of informal group. We really have had great friendships come out of these Q&A sessions at the end, which is why we keep them long, because everybody can kind of get to know each other. Okay, Stephen, do you want to it looks like you just have a comment, but I'd rather you read it than me read it for you. So please turn on your mic and camera and go for it.
Thank you for the opportunity. Sorry about the camera, but I'm unable to provide a camera at this time. Our group was I'm working with Clemson University. I'm from Utah Valley University, and we're also working with Northland Community College and Southern Illinois University. We're also working with strategic partners within our research that are really primarily eVTOL and eCTOL aircraft. But the research is related to trying to identify technician qualification requirements to be able to sustain these aircraft in the field. Usually maintenance is considered last. Under certification standards, they're required to have instructions for continued airworthiness in order to be able to certify their aircraft and get them into the field. And I think a lot of the new OEMs have an unrealistic perspective with regards to, how much maintenance is going to be required on these air vehicles. Some say it'll require less. I would challenge that as EV cars require 80% more maintenance than internal combustion engine cars. So we feel that there's going to be some real challenges as these new technologies enter our airspace are in operational service. Many of these aircraft are going to be commercial ventures where they're going to be revenue seat miles, and they're going to have a very high turn rate on these aircraft, and they're going to be in the thousands. And it really worries us because we're not going to have a qualified technician workforce because the current airman certification standard under Part 147 has none of these technologies, especially hydrogen. A lot of our attention right now is on plug-in EV. I think that'll last. There will be a certain mix of energy sources, but many of us believe that this isn't the end. So we're very, very keen to collect data and information from OEMs who can help us identify what does that technology look like, what type of architecture is it, and then how do you perform maintenance on that aircraft, both remove and replace of components, servicing, inspections, repair, and those type of items. The sooner that we can get a jump on collecting this information, the sooner we can define qualification and competency requirements. So that way we can define a standard, and then that standard can then inform NASA and the FAA to actually create a revision to the airman certification standard. So that way we can ensure that we have a qualified workforce that can sustain these aircraft in the field. It's going to be absolutely essential to be able to maintain consumer confidence in this as a viable form of transportation. And we can ill afford less than qualified people to actually maintain these aircraft. So thank you for the opportunity. If anybody's interested in wanting to participate in the research and provide us information or would just like to chat, I'd really welcome it. My name is Stephen Lay from Utah Valley University. And thank you for the opportunity to chat with you all.
Thank you, Stephen. You're not alone in thinking that. I've been saying for a couple of years that I think the biggest opportunity in this space is for some MRO startups. Where are those? So I'd be happy to also chat and maybe we could put out the word to our network. So let's definitely connect on that.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. And
Yeah,
thank you
you
for
bet.
everyone who's participating today. I appreciate your patience. I went a little long.
Cool. Awesome. Well, Santh, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I would love to stay in touch and maybe we can coordinate separately outside of this. Steven?
Well, everybody, it was a fantastic webinar today. I very much appreciate you, Santh, and everything that you shared with us, your hard work in advancing hydrogen aviation. And again, I encourage you all to reach out to Santh, make a small investment or a large one, and definitely stay engaged. Welcome to the newcomers that came today. And thank you so much, Santh and George and the LuftCar team. And yeah, have a happy week, everybody. And I will give you 3 minutes of your day back.
Thank you all. Hey, real quick, I want to give a shout out to Tiffany Nesbitt. Tiffany's our CTO. I didn't introduce to her before. Apologize, but she's the woman leader in our team right now, and we want to expand more on that.
Yes, Tiffany, come on and say hi. Congratulations, by the way. I saw that on LinkedIn.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited to be here. This is exciting technology, and I'm really, kind of jazzed up to be able to help Santh drive this forward. So thank you.
Yeah, you bet. We're so excited to have you. And hey, it ended up being a great Women's Month presentation after all. We'll have to hear from you in the future, but welcome and congratulations on the new position.
Thank you so much.
Right. Take care all. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye now.
Thank you.